Which fanbase has been betrayed the most? I'd say anyone who's a fan of an economy game. Love Metal Gear? We're firing the creator. That Silent Hill game we were making with Del Toro? Cancelled. Now if you'll excuse us, we have to go make pachinko machines out of your favorite video games, instead of making actual video games. Don't forget Castlevania. They stopped them after Order of Ecclesia. I really think Lords of Shadow killed the franchise. And no, pachinko machines are not counted. Cleveland Browns fire every head coach every 2 years, except the one who went 1-31. Your team has promise. The Bengals rehide Lewis. Thinking about it though, you're right. Browns fans have it rough. I recommend watching John Bois Browns Are in Heck video. My name is Earl anyone? How TF are you gonna end on a crazy cliffhanger like that? The show was silly and all, but you really get attached to the characters and hope the best for them. I don't see Spore on here, but let me tell you that situation felt really crappy for me. Spore was a game that was meant to be sim life realized. Before the release, when we got those first videos of the Microbe Sea Life Land Life video life simulator, fans went nuts. This was our game. We are a niche of gamers that basically never get catered to, and here came Maxis to deliver the sim game of the century. The fan page was literally filled with hypothetical species people were going to make, with whole textbook entries as to where and how this species lived. There were arboreal animals in trees, cave animals, deep sea filter feeders, everything. And then Spore came out. The animal portion got dumped down a ton. Basically animals all behaved the same, except some chewed on fruit and danced with other species and some murdered and ate other species. You built creatures by digging up fossils and unlocking random bits. Yep, and everything was bound to land pretty much and nested on the ground. No interesting life cycles or niches. Just whacking things to death and dancing with the neighbors. The whole ocean part was just flat out removed, and if you dared venture into the water you got chomped by the fricking swamp creature's Cajun cousin. And all that innovative animal sim stuff was basically cut to make room for the most watered down ripoffs of other games imaginable. Watered down crappy RTS. Watered down crappy Civilization style city stage. 2 unmemorable boring filler stages everyone hated to act as filler for the space age. Which was just you floating around in a spaceship terraforming planets and making colonies so they could get attacked by pirates and crap, all so you could fight your way to the center of the galaxy and get a rod that lets you terraform a couple more planets for free. Some space stuff was sort of fun, but I would have happily cut all of it to keep the animal evolution and ecosystem sim and made that a complete game. Instead we got an unmemorable disappointment that became the poster child for spreading your game too thin. And we have never seen anything like the original Spore promise. Yay man. It freaking kills me that Spore not only was a disappointment, but that it was just straight up forgotten about. There was a 90s computer animated show called Reboot. The series had a good run, but a trilogy of movies ended on a cliffhanger. Reboot has since been rebooted. The trailer is bad. Very bad. In almost every fanfiction posted before 2010, you'll find a disclaimer that says something like, I do not own the characters within. They belong to the author. I always thought that was so stupid. Like, of course you don't own Spark. Apparently people started doing that after the author of the Vampire Chronicles made threats of legal action against fanfiction authors who were creating not-for-profit works of fiction because they just loved the series. Fanfictions can be really long too, like almost as long as books or longer. I can't imagine working so hard on something you truly love and then receiving notice that the creator wants to sue you because of it. Cube World. Great potential. Lots of hypes. About 5 updates and then ghosted by the dev. Those over at the Cube World subreddit still hold out hope after all these years that the developer will finally update again. He still occasionally posts statuses on his Twitter. That game was so much fun too with friends. It had so much potential. People who live in the 48 states left on Sufjan Stevens' promise to record an album for each state. Tool have said their album is not far away for the last 5 years. System of a Down fan here. I feel you. Probably the Sonic one for how many horrible Sonic games there have been. When will you learn? Fans of the Sims games. Sims 4 has DLC for DLC. Honorable mention to SimCity as well. RIP. Fans of Sherlock. the show, and they don't even know it. Kingkiller Chronicles. I don't want Rothfuss to force a book he doesn't feel is ready, but he was plugging the 10th anniversary edition of book 1. You're gonna charge people a lot of money for a fancy edition of a book in a series you won't even talk about completing anymore. Him and GRRM have put me off reading any unfinished series. Fans of the show Dexter. Marvel ended up making follow-up comics to the series where he moves to Australia and ditches bodies on the reef. So you know. Silent Hill. What a great series that used to be. A few come to mind tbh. Avatar The Last Airbender with that crappy movie adaptation. Aragorn with an arguably equally as crappy if not even more crappy movie adaptation. Halo fans with the poor writing of the last 2 titles. Chronicle, for those who know that movie, by Fox ruining a pretty damned amazing sequel script. Martyr, leaked and would have made a pretty good sequel in turn for trying to turn the franchise into a paranormal activity. Like Cash Cow that ended up just tanking the franchise with no sequel release. X-Files fans. This last season was a joke. The finale had me livid. No wonder Gillian Anderson said she is done. Frick you Chris Carter. Since all the games and series have been named already, I'll go with Bleach, the manga. I haven't been into it too deep to care, but from what I've heard, the writer rushed the ending after stretching out the latter half for too long, left a crap ton of characters' fates unanswered, along with an equally crappy ton of plot holes. Avatar The Last Airbender. Not in that the creators butchered it, but someone along the way sold it off and fricked it all up with that movie. I'd rather claim James Cameron's Avatar as the movie adaptation. It makes about as much canonical sense. That scene where several earthbenders band together to move a pebble will always sum up the movie for me. I just want Fry and Seymour to finally both actually know what really happened. Philip J. Fry's A Tragic Charter. David Foster Wallace fans. As dark as that is contextually, he killed himself before finishing his next book. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard it feels like the non-ending is intentional. Not that I blame the guy either. I'm surprised no one has said Heroes. It's been a while, but that show was so badass in the beginning, and then it just started going haywire. Plots were completely abandoned, characters never developed, and then it just all ended on a huge cliffhanger. What the frick? Fans of Fortnite, not the Battle Royale part, the actual Fortnite that costs money. With how popular the Battle Royale version is and how much money it's presumably making, Epic has put all of their eggs into that mode now, instead of the base game. It's a sad state of affairs on the Fortnite subreddit nowadays. Worst part about that for me, personally, is that I started playing the BR version as a placeholder for what was supposed to be the soon-to-be released free-to-play version of the PvE Fortnite. The paid version is just for early access. I feel like it's never coming out of early access because of all the attention BR is getting. Half-Life fans. I've been doing this since HL1 was in magazines and I was excited by the sci-fi shooting game. I installed Steam before HL2 came out. I watched Gabe go from, paraphrasing, "We're moving to episodic content in order to release games quicker," to releasing 2 fantastic games relatively quickly, to quite possibly the most painful cliffhanger of my life. It's made worse by the fact that the end of episode 2 gives you a ton of hints and hooks about some of the prime mysteries of the world, in an astounding first for the entire series. And now we've been left hanging with absolutely no closure for about 10 years. It would be one thing if they said, officially, it's not coming, but they haven't. Just an endless stream of no comment, and we aren't discussing that at this time, breaking my heart more and more. I'm nearly 30 years old and I get way more bothered about this than I should, but I can almost trace a line directly back to that kid in elementary school salivating over a PC gamer, to the teen who rode his bike to 2 different TB games to get the G-Man box, to the guy fresh out of high school playing through episode 2, to the adult sitting here, stoned in his underwear, typing about how badly he wants some real closure. Epistle 3 is almost closure, but real closure is we aren't making Half-Life 3, or Half-Life 3 releases. I would normally say Mass Effect, but the way years come at Star Wars, I'll go with that. Granted, Star Wars fans are the worst. We hate ourselves. A true fan hates all the movies. Berserk. Teen Titans. Frick. Gargoyles, awesome. Before its time cartoon on Disney in 1992, still has some of the most dedicated and crap upon fans in 2018. We got 2 amazing seasons right out of Greg Weisman's beautiful head before they ripped him off the show and gave us nonsense in season 3. Greg tried to continue with comics that are released so sporadically that Steven Universe would cry, without that fan artists would laugh off of DeviantArt, all while dedicated cons are going on with people who love the series, still screaming for good content. For 25 goddamn years, Greg has an Ask Greg website where he has almost admitted every plot point in the series, and it is stuff of the writer's nightmares. With each question he oscillates between hopeful, coy answers making us think that something might be in the works for us, to depressing tell-all, knowing that he is screaming his story into the wind. The best continuation, in my opinion, is this behemoth of a fanfiction site that wrote novels on every facet of the story, from Wyvern Castle to current timeline to Time Dancer to 2148. Glorious fanet, enchanting OCS, true to character depictions, Sata, Cartana any day of the week, almost forgives the fanfic washing over Lexington being gay, but it too is consumed by the void. Every year there's a rumor of a live action movie, but every year it's live action disappointment. For 25 goddamn years. A Song of Ice and Fire series fans, we'll never get closure. Hey, at least we are well informed about the off-season moves of the New York Jets. Fans of The Walking Dead. Scott Gimple frick you. Alien, wow that was good. Aliens, okay, this was an 80s action flick, but still good. Alien 3, wait, Alien 4, what? Prometheus, oh okay, new direction, I'm feeling it. Alien 5, Ridley stop. Alien and Aliens are some of my favorite movies of all time, for completely different reasons. One is an excellent thriller, one is an excellent action movie. Terminator and T2 are pretty different and both are up there as well. Heck, I think those 4 are in my top 20. Metalocalypse. I only heard this from being around when it came out, but didn't No Man's Sky fans really hate the game they were so hyped to get? It was an okay game if you like really boring games. SimCity. Arrow fans. 2 words. FELICITYSMOAK. If they stuck with season 1 Felicity, it would all be fine. But no, they took the fun, quirky Felicity everyone liked, turned it up to 100, and made the show revolve around her instead. Halo 5 no couch coop? Come on. Destiny Bungie's fanbase, coming from someone who has 1,300 plus hours on Destiny 1 and still plays occasionally, Destiny 2 is a funless mess for me. Finished the campaign and played around 70 hours total, but I can't find any incentives to keep me coming back to play. It makes me so sad to not enjoy it. Just looking at our Destiny, the game will show just how disappointed the fans are, and it makes me really sad to see, since I love the series so much. The worst part is that Bungie isn't even listening to the players and are still doing what they want on their own time. A new update is supposed to come out and improve the game's basic systems and play speed, but I don't even think I'm gonna bother trying it, cause it's not a big enough difference to keep me coming back. This game was such a letdown. The gameplay is decent but the events on each planet are more or less the same. Would be nice if they varied to some degree. Many of the weapons are useless and for the end game there are only a handful that are any good. Multiplayer was basically the same story. Everyone used the same exact weapons. No reason to try anything else when it's clearly inferior. You have been visited by the ingenious Joe. Comment brain so you always see the glass half full. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.